Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, people. Good evening. We're back again. It's the Armoury TV. Another match reaction. I was about to say better. So much in the United game is throwing me off. Sporting Lisbon 2, Arsenal 2. Let's get into it. Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, people. Good evening. Hope you're well. It's Armoury TV. We're back. I got my guys with me. Man like Bobby, how you keeping, bruv?
Yeah, not bad, not bad, not bad. How are you?
I'm good. You did you do the watch along?
Yeah, I did the watch along. My partner was in the background as well, making comments. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was entertaining.
I hope they're good comments anyway. I hope they're good ones. Bless you. We're also joined by the man himself, man like GTalks. What are you saying, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Not the most enjoyable game this season, that's for sure. But yeah, man, I'm all good. I'm all well, man. I'm ready to get stuck in.
Let's do it. Let's just get straight into it. First things first. Obviously, it's a Thursday night game. Bit of rotation. Squad starting 11. Obviously, a lot of talk leading up to the game with Jesus being back in full training. I think everyone saw pictures and kind of heard that Nketiah didn't travel and Trossard didn't travel, and then also Tierney was ill. But the big talk was about Jesus, wasn't it? Was you expecting to see him featured in the squad, or was you quite happy he was left out? We'll go with you first, G.
You know what it was, yeah? I can't lie. I'm not disappointed that he didn't travel and he didn't feature, but I was a little bit excited at the prospect of seeing him on the bench or maybe him possibly getting some minutes. But I'm very much in the camp of we can't rush him. We need to really manage like his situation coming back from injury perfectly for me, because I feel like he can have a massive say and impact in obviously the business end of the season. But if you don't manage that injury and his transition back into the first team well, we could, God forbid, lose him again. And I think that would be a major blow for our squad, for our first team. But I think psychologically, I think it could also have a big impact on the squad as well. Because I think it's not just us that are looking forward to having him back. I think you can see that even from having him on the training ground in the images and the videos we've seen, like his just his temperament, his attitude, his persona, everything. You can just tell that he's going to massively lift this squad of players even more than they already are. So a little bit disappointed that he wasn't involved or on the bench or travelled. But like I said, I perfectly understand how Arsenal and the staff are managing him. But yeah, I don't know if you want me to elaborate on the actual team itself or...
We'll let Bobby have a say on Jesus missing, and then we're going to the starting 11. Cool. So yeah, I'm hearing GTalks there on that one. Just to let you not know, anyone who's kind of wants to follow United game, Rashford has just scored. United again almost conceded, and then within 30 seconds got the other end and score. Counter-attacking at his best. But yeah, let's move on to Bobby. What about yourself? We obviously know Jesus in the squad at all. What was your thoughts?
I don't expect to see him. Mate, we might see him on the bench for Fulham. That's been my prediction for a while, that I think we'll see him on the bench at Fulham. I wasn't expecting to see him tonight. I think it would have been silly to put him in any form tonight. I don't believe he's even out there, to be honest. I think he's in England, keeping safe, keeping warm. So yeah, I expect to see him on Sunday, to be honest, on the bench. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Again, for me, as much as it would be nice to see him, the last thing we want to do is bring him back too early and he breaks down. By some of the videos we've seen in training, he does look like he's sharp and moving around with the same hunger and determination we come to expect from him. But again, you can't replicate a real life match. And not saying people want to go out there and purposely injure players, but people's thoughts are first tackle on him, let him know he's in a game again. Do you know what I mean? And you can't run the risk. For me, I'd much rather a delayed return and then he stays fit for the rest of the season rather than rushing back and then all of a sudden he's out again. So, yeah, there was no arguments from me there at all either. So let's go on to the starting 11. A few changes. I think there were 6 changes. Obviously, goalkeeper Turner's come in. Left centre back Kyrgios playing. Apart from that, the back kind of other 3 stayed the same. It's in Zinchenko, Ben White, and Saliba. In midfield, Jorginho and Xhaka, which is 2 changes. Obviously, Xhaka didn't start on the weekend. Odegaard was also out. Fabio Vieira played in that position. And Reece Nelson was another one that came in with Saka and Martinelli. Not much we could do really in the attacking areas, I didn't think. It's more the defences where you could make the changes. But Bobby, that 11, how happy was you with it, or was you a bit frustrated at that 11?
I'm just going to show you, actually. Let's go for the slides. Moss nearly predicted it right, apart from the Odegaard.
Oh, Odegaard.
Yeah. Other than that, that was Moss's squad. I was quite happy with that squad. To be honest, we've got to give you a point, a game at some point.
Yeah,
he's well regarded. We've all known about, well, a lot of us known about him for a while. We've got to give him a chance, and I thought he did all right for a debut game. You know, obviously he's going to look a little bit out of place. He doesn't know people well enough. Doesn't know the way that Arsenal play in a game. It's different on the training field. But to be honest, I was quite happy with it. You know, the performance wasn't the greatest. But as I said yesterday in the preview, Sporting are dangerous. Yes, they're not having a great season, but they are good. They're a good team. And
I agree with you on that. G?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like rotation, you saw the team that I picked. I wanted more or less a fully rotated side as much as possible. So I was pretty much happy with the squad that, I think that my one's there, I think. Is it? Yeah. So it was, I was pretty happy. I mean, it was nice to just see a couple of players that we hadn't seen in a while, like Turner getting his opportunity in goal. I said before we came on the air with Bobby backstage, I'm just glad that we gave Kivior some minutes. I'm not going to read too much into his performance because he's playing for Arsenal for the first time in a competitive game. But I'm just glad he got minutes because we need to start giving him minutes because there may come a time, God forbid, if Gabriel does go down, we're going to need to call on him. And the last thing I want him is to come in and make his debut in that kind of high pressure situation. So he will have, he'll be reflective on his performance, but it will give him some confidence, it just to kind of get it under his belt. The rest of the team, I was pretty happy, man. I was kind of glad to see Nelson come in and get a start, obviously given the injuries we've got as well, because obviously the massive impact he made against Bournemouth. But I couldn't argue. I mean, considering it was obviously Europa League, we're playing again on Sunday, considering the injuries and the illness that has impacted some of our players in recent days, like notably KT and Odegaard, I don't think many Arsenal fans could have really argued with that lineup, to be honest. It was good enough to win the game, so I was pretty happy.
Definitely. How do you think we played today? Let's get into Kivior. It's his debut. I know you kind of touched on it, but how would you rate his performance? Did you see anything to be positive about, or do you think it could be one of them signings that does okay, but doesn't really push us forward, if that makes sense? I know it's only one game, so it's hard to read.
I think for me, obviously everybody will talk about the goal that we conceded. Everybody, the certain reactionary fans they'll just pounce on that now and say that he's an absolute crap defender and he can't head the ball and blah, 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 blah. But if you actually look closely and you looked at the halftime analysis and stuff, there was a miscommunication between Turner and Kivior. And this is the first time Kivior's played in that back four. First time he's played alongside Turner. There are going to be teething issues. So for me, I'm not going to read too much into that. Kivior clearly leaves the ball for Turner. Clearly. He doesn't duck from the header. There is a shout from Turner. He leaves the ball, and Turner doesn't get it. I think if you're gonna pinpoint any blame, you could probably say that Turner was hesitant in that situation, and we conceded. But it happens. I mean, we haven't looked at our best in terms of set pieces since the restarted the season after the World Cup, and that kind of continued tonight. It was a very, very sloppy goal, but like I said, in terms of his performance overall, I thought he did okay. He didn't like set the world alight. At the same time, he looked comfortable on the ball. He looks a decent centre back. I think we can't read too much into this performance. I think it's going to be a while before we can really kind of, you know, come to a point where we say what kind of signing has he been or is he going to be. This kind of latter stages of this season, I think it's going to be really difficult to read into it because, in all honesty, I think he'll get minutes here and there, but I think Gabriel will be the main feature at the left centre back position between now and the end of the season. I think his Arsenal career, although it started, will really pick up once he's had a full pre-season under his belt going into next season. But I was just glad he got minutes. I'm glad he got that under his belt. I'm not blaming him for us conceding a goal. I think it was generally miscommunication and poor defending amongst the kind of whole defense. And yeah, we move, you know. Hopefully, you know, he gets a couple of more minutes in some, you know, games in the near future, and turns out to be a really good signing. But yeah, no meltdown from me.
Yeah. Do you feel he'll start next week? Unless you again, G, and I'll move on to
possibly, yeah. I think he will possibly. I think it really just depends. A lot of, obviously, like we've seen the media with the press conferences saying that, you know, Mikel Arteta is prioritizing both the Premier League and the Europa League. I'm not completely convinced about that. If I'm being completely honest, Mikel Arteta is very good at giving very little away. He's got a very good poker face, and he knows how to play the media. I believe our eggs are very much all in the basket of the Premier League, and I think if it comes to it, particularly given, you know, the injury list that we have at the moment to do with injuries and illnesses, I think if we have to prioritize between Crystal Palace or Sporting at home, I think he's going to go all out for the Palace game. Because we've basically got 2 Premier League games now before we go into the international break, and to go into that international break, I think we'll be 5, if not 8 points clear because of the amount of games both us and City would have played. I mean, there's no comparison. So I'm not sure if he plays next week. I think it really comes down to me personally. I probably wouldn't play him next week. I'd probably play my best team just so we can secure and go into the next round. But I think it really just depends on, you know, where Arteta sees. At the end of the day, he knows the squad a lot better than me. He knows what Arsenal's, you know, priorities are, fitness, fatigue, confidence, etc. You know, nobody's better placed than him. So I think team selection next week will tell us everything we need to know. But me personally, I wouldn't play him, and I don't think Arteta will. But we'll see.
You see, Bobby, what would you make of Kyrgios's kind of full debut for Arsenal?
See, with the first goal, I'm 75% blame for Turner, 25 for Kivior. Only because if there wasn't any noise from Turner, like saying it's my ball, I didn't see him shout it, but I would have liked him to put his big boy pants on and just stand strong and just try and go for it instead of ducking. That's my only criticism on that. He just ducked. Now, unless Turner shouted, then fair enough. You would duck because you'd expect a goalkeeper jumping over your head. As for the second one, now Moss picked something up. I didn't notice this, but he was calling that was Kivior's fault. I didn't see Kivior involved in that one. I thought that was Saliba personally, but I thought Kivior did all right. It's exactly what I expected from a debut centre back. I thought it was good. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I don't think we'll see much of him this season. I think we'll see quite a lot of him pre-season. But yeah, I'm happy. You know, he only costs like 15, 16 million, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, second one, I'm trying to think back to it. Maybe Moss has seen something I haven't, but I think more for me it was about just lack of intensity on the edge of the box was the big frustration for me. Like, it's kind of gone in, come out a few times. We just haven't really put no intent to actually win the ball back. Do you know what I mean? We just kind of stood in front of them. I need to watch the rest of it, how it unfolds again. But yeah, it was a bit of a frustration. But let's look about maybe going forward. Obviously, we know we've got the issue with the striker situation at the moment. Actually, before we do that, let's get to James's comment because he's got a lot of the analysis there. He does his studying. I got the answer he was looking for in terms of Kyrgios. Can he defend the high line with big spaces in behind? I felt he did very good and was relatively quick when running back, long strides too. So James was quite impressed. So yeah, as I was saying, let's look at the attacking areas. What do we do weekend coming? Did you see enough from Martinelli through the middle to say we have to go with that, or is there any other options?
I mean, first of all, I just think the performance was poor from us generally. I just don't think we were at our best. I think we looked like a team that was heavily rotated. Do you know what I mean? We looked like a team that has got 3 frontmen injured. We looked like a team that made 6 changes from the weekend, and I think we pretty much played like that. But as I was saying to Bobby off air, I don't feel like we ever got going. I felt like we did enough to not lose the game. But I don't think we even got out of second gear. I mean, if you look at the levels we've played at for the large part of this season, we were very kind of lazy. We were very kind of lackluster, and I just felt like we were in a bit of a comfort zone tonight in terms of performance. It just didn't click for whatever reason. But away from home, 2-2, we didn't lose. I don't feel like we've lost a huge amount of momentum. So, you kind of take it. In terms of the front line, I mean, it does concern me. Realistically, right now, Jesus is not ready. His deputy, who's done a brilliant job in his absence, Eddie, didn't train, didn't travel. Trossard looks like, I think I heard he didn't train, he didn't travel with the squad. And all of a sudden, we've got, an illness to Odegaard. So there's a question mark whether he'll be ready for the weekend. So, I mean, offensively, we look light. I mean, we've got bodies, obviously. We've got Saka in the right. Nelson, thankfully, has come back from injury. Didn't look as good. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say he didn't look as good. I'm not pinpointing him because I think the whole team played pretty badly. But I think he got into a couple of promising positions, but final ball just weren't there. But I think that could be said for all the players, really. It just wasn't quite there in that kind of last-minute decision to be made. This might be controversial, but I'm just not a fan of Martinelli in the middle. I just really not. Every time I've seen him there, he just looks awful. And don't get me wrong, I know we haven't seen him there a huge amount, but for me, he just doesn't look like a people might say I'm crazy, but for me, he just doesn't look like a number 9. I don't think he's got the technical ability to at the moment to play the way we play in terms of the link-up play. I think Eddie and Jesus are miles ahead of him in terms of hold-up play, in terms of link-up play from that kind of number 9 position. I think even strength-wise, it's not great. I think the only time, the real time you see Martinelli's strength is when he's running into space. So I mean, if we if we play a way where we're playing him in like over the top, and he's got grass to run into, then yeah, you saw the run he got that he did that probably it deserved a goal. It would have been a phenomenal goal. When he's got grass to run at, people to run at, cool. But I just don't think there's enough about his game in terms of him being a centre forward right now. He's young. He's got a lot to learn. If that's a position that Arteta or the club see him in long term, then I think there's a lot of work to be done. For me, I don't know what we do at the weekend because obviously we are very limited. ESR came on. He didn't look massively ready for that Fulham game. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, right now on paper, our best front three is, in terms of availability, is Saka, Martinelli, and Nelson. But that doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence. I'm being completely honest. I think we're a much better side with Eddie in there in the middle, with Trossard in the middle as a false 9, and obviously with Jesus, who we haven't had for a while. So in terms of attacking options, I can't really see what else we can do because I'm not in favour of bringing ESR to start. I haven't seen enough of him in the last 2 kind of sub appearances to say, pushing for a starting position. And then Vieira, for me, there's a lot of talk of him playing out wide. I just can't see it. I've seen him play out wide, and for me, it just looks horrible. I need him in a kind of creative pocket, similar to what Odegaard does.
We get onto Vieira in a minute because I feel, to be fair, he was my man of the match today. Until he went up into the 9, I was really impressed with his performance today. But let's stick on this topic of the striker situation. Bobby, what's your thoughts? G's spoken in depth about Martinelli in the middle, and it's one of them difficult positions. I think striker is probably the hardest position to play on the pitch, in all honesty. Martinelli doesn't seem like a striker who wants to just sit in the middle and wait for the ball to come. So he's actively searching. If I'm honest, I think G, again, you're entitled to your opinion. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I actually think Martinelli's done better through the middle than I expected of him. Because people, again, we've heard it for seasons. I know Gunnar King's a big fan of Martinelli through the middle, and I've been saying he doesn't strike me as a striker in Arsenal's system. In Leicester's system, when Vardy was going on crazy, yes, it might work because everything's in behind. It's channels for him to run in behind, suits him. Arsenal try and build up, get involved, link up, and I've never really seen him as that player. But he's actually done better than I thought. But he does drop very deep to try and get on the ball, doesn't he? And it's difficult for him. So, Bobby, what's your thoughts on Martinelli up there? I don't feel we have any other choice but to start him up there on the weekend unless Nketiah or Trossard's fit. Do you think something we can make work?
Yeah, I think he will make it work. The chance that he had was him being a dirty striker. And I've always said this, he's a dirty winger. I love him. He just puts his head down, just goes for it. And he can do that as a striker, as a third or fourth option. He's not the first person I'd want as a striker, but he's going to do he's going to have to do the job. They've got no other choices. Smith Rowe as false nine, people have been putting in the teams that I asked for. I don't like the sound of that. I'd rather have Martinelli. And a lot of people seem to do that at the moment because I think no Eddie, no Trossard for a while. And I have heard that the sickness bug hit quite a lot of our players. So I've heard. So
they said Jorginho was ill on the weekend as well, wasn't he? Remember? And
Vieira actually had a sore throat playing today. So a lot of our players playing today were still sick. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think obviously Martinelli's probably the best of a bad situation right now, isn't he, in that area? Exactly. So I expect to see him through the middle again, unless Nketiah or someone is miraculously able to get back to full fitness by weekend. I expect to see Martinelli in there. Let's touch on Reece Nelson. Obviously, he was the man of the moment after his performance on Sunday. How would you rate his performance today, Bobby?
It's the final delivery every time for me. He's got this lovely extra bit of pace, which I love, but then it's the final pass. And these corners, I don't know what is he doing with these?
Because he was hitting them so deep, weren't he?
I'm like, what are you doing? That's pointless. It's a pointless corner for me. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's a pointless corner.
His corners weren't great.
Yeah.
Corners weren't great. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he was beating the man down the line a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes overhitting the crosses. But yeah, done all right for me still. I don't think he was our worst player on the pitch, or even in the attacking four areas. I don't think he was the worst player today. So what about yourself, G? Thoughts on Nelson?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole performance was a massive anticlimax after obviously the Bournemouth comeback, and I think that's what it was. I just think it was just a chalk and cheese type of performance from what we saw at the weekend, and in a way, I think it was probably kind of needed. Do you know what I mean? I think we need a break from the way we play in these games. In the Premier League, just for blood pressure purposes. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily pinpoint him out as having a particularly poor performance. I think his performance was pretty much a similar reflection of all the players today. I just think we weren't quite there. I think he actually started the game quite well. He looked quite sharp. He got into dangerous areas. He's really direct, which is what I like about Nelson. He has no issue kind of running at his man and just kind of get into the byline and just pinging in that ball. But as Bobby said, there was a couple times he got into quite decent positions and the ball just wasn't quite right. It was either really high and too long rather than being kind of whipped into the 6-yard box. So, I think in comparison to obviously at the weekend, it was very much a below par performance from him. But like I said, I think that was just a reflection of the whole squad, really. I think in the time he was on the pitch, he probably had some better moments than most of the team, to be fair. He just didn't massively make the most of some of those positions that he was in. But yeah, no disaster. Remember, he's still coming back from injury. I think it was, I think the game against Bournemouth was either his first or second cameo appearance since his injury. So, yeah, he did all right. But yeah, no drama really. It did, like I said, very similar to the rest of the team. Didn't massively grab me in terms of a great performance, but I kind of just, it is what it is tonight. I think it's one of those performances from all of them.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's move on to the last player I want to talk about before we get into some player ratings. Fabio Vieira. For me, he was my man of the match today. I think he pulled all the strings. He got into some dangerous positions. He hit a left foot shot, the technique on it, just wide. He even got a header, which forced a good save from the keeper. And I think everything that we done well today, he was heavily involved in. So yeah, what was your thoughts on him? Are you starting to see the player we thought again, it's taken him maybe longer than we thought to kind of start showing glimpses, but especially first half today for me, everything we did, he was involved in. Are you starting to see the player who you thought he was going to buy, Bobby?
I love him. I loved him when we signed him. I loved watching him for 2-3 years at at Porto. I love the kid. I'm just so I get fed up when people are attacking him, and I've had it today, even in that game. Like when at 9, I'm like, that's not his position anyway. Arteta's trying to get him still to be in the game. Otherwise, we're just going to have loads of midfielders and no striker whatsoever.
Yeah.
So don't attack him for something he's not trained to do, because it's not his fault. But I love Fabio. I'm so excited. I think at some point he will be a bargain. I know we've paid 30 odd million for him, but I think he's still going to be a bargain. I think he is someone to watch out for. He'll bulk up for next season. Next season he will hit the ground running. I guarantee it. Can't wait.
Definitely. I like your optimism. I'm with you on that, Bobby. I've liked him. Yes, he's had some under par performances. However, you can see the quality. And again, today was a day where, for me, he led, and that was the difference. Some games you see him just kind of filter through, and just kind of goes through the game. Today, he actually he led the game. He was in Odegaard's position. He wanted the ball, didn't he? So, what about you, G? What's your thoughts? Wait, we've got to get to this comment first.
Yeah, sorry, it's making me laugh.
What you laugh at that? And I clocked it. Fernandez is Bruno, Vieira's Bruno without the rat face. I love that, and he tries a little bit harder. GTalks, what are you saying?
Yeah, Fabio Vieira is just one of those players that I kind of just had his back from day one. I didn't really know much about him when we signed him, and obviously the signing came out of nowhere, which we love as Arsenal fans. But I did a lot of kind of research and watching and reading up on him once we did sign him, or once we was on the verge of signing him. And I just think he's quality. I really, really do. I think he's going to be an absolute bargain of a buy. And what I think we just need to understand is that some players will come to the club and they'll hit the ground running, like your Trossards. And others will come and they will take a little bit longer to kind of, bed in and transition because it is a big move. It's a big money move. You've got the whole language, culture, all of that. And it will take a little bit. It will take a while. But I've seen enough of Fabio Vieira in games, in glimpses, in patches where he just oozes absolute quality. He does the things he does, other players just can't do. What we have now is that the more he grows in confidence, the more he becomes comfortable, the more games he gets, he will trust himself more, and he'll become a stronger player, a better player for it. So I have no concerns whatsoever. I see a lot of the fan base kind of getting on his back, and I understand it to some extent. We paid good money for him. We're in a high pressure situation because we're pushing for the title. And I think when Odegaard's not necessarily performing, they want Vieira to be able to come on and do exactly what Odegaard's doing, if not better than Odegaard. And I think that's where the frustration is. But we've just got to be patient. This is not FIFA. This is not Championship Manager. It just doesn't work like that. He's a human being, and it's taking time for him to transition. So I've seen enough. For me to be confident to say he's going to be an absolute brilliant buy and a fantastic player. And I think once he is up to speed and he is comfortable and he is confident, I think he will be giving Odegaard a real run for his money in terms of playing in that position. And I think he'll be absolutely brilliant, because I think once he gets his confidence, I think that's where we will see the versatility he has. I think at the moment where he's transitioning, he's not as confident as he can be. I think there are certain positions where, that quality is not necessarily going to translate. But a player who is confident, who is getting games, who is settled, I think he will be that type of player that we can play out wide, that we can play in the number 8, we can play in the number 10 role, and he'll be able to do those jobs because he did that for Porto. He even played false 9 many a times for them. when they need it. So I think he's going to be an absolute fantastic player. I think his versatility is going to be just amazing eventually, but I just think we need to be a little bit more patient. But tonight he played well. As you said, he pulled the strings, a really good performance. So yeah, happy with his performance, and I'm really confident that he's going to be a good signing moving forward.
I hear that. Just to let you lot know, it seems it's better to just scored Iosi Perez. A great finish. However, it may get ruled out for a handball. I'm not too sure if VAR are going to pick it up or not, but we'll keep you updated. Some great comments in here about Vieira, by the way. Brenny's saying Vieira's showing his quality this season. He's going to if you give him a run on the side, he'll do well. And that's, again, he's played 2-2. And you saw it today. He looked a lot different. So, again, it maybe is confidence. Oh, the goal stood. For me, it should be handball. It's come off his chest and rolled onto his arm. But, again, I'll look at it properly later. But I'm not going to moan about it. United is drawing 1-0. James is saying why the game opened up for me is he isn't a tempo controller like Odegaard is. Vieira is the final move of the ball. Odegaard is like David Silva. Vieira is more KDB profile-wise. I love that comment. Was saying, yeah, exactly, James. Odegaard makes our tempo superior to all clubs. Craig AFC's in the building. He's saying absolute shocking defending for the first goal. Turner gets me nervous when he's on the ball. And yeah, things saying on time. Perez Iosi Perez used to play for Leicester, so scored for Betis. Cool. So let's move on from there anyway. Again, we're getting to the player ratings. The goals we scored, again, one was a set piece, Vieira across and from the corner, and Saliba with a good header, and the second one was a deflected shot, massive deflection. Well, it was a cross, wasn't it, from Xhaka? Trying to find the striker that's taken a wicked deflection and gone past the keeper. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But let's get some player ratings and then before we wrap up. So let's start with the keeper. GTalks. Turner, what are you giving him?
I'm going to give him a 5. I don't know.
He made some good saves, though.
You know what? I don't know, Like, for me, it wasn't a great performance at all. I think some of the saves that he pulled, I think I don't think if Ramsdale did them, I'd be that. I just think that's like bread and butter.
He should be saving them.
Yeah, he should be saving them. I don't think he pulled off a save that I'm gonna really go crazy about. So for me, if I'm gonna pinpoint blame, I'm gonna blame him for the goal. I think as a keeper, you come out, you claim the cross. Mm-hmm. If you actually watch him, he hesitates. He kind of comes and then he doesn't. And for me, that's what I'm gonna kind of put it down to. I didn't think he had an awful game. It was kind of a bit of a steady Eddie. I probably would have given him maybe a 7, but because of that error, he's going to drop down to a 5 for me.
Bobby, do you agree with a 5 or do you feel he's more of a 6?
I was thinking a 5, but I was thinking I want to see what you say first. But
all right, I let you not keep your 5s. Moss from across the pond, your 7.5 is getting wiped off the board, mate. It's a 5. Let's move into right back. And Ben White started. Bobby, what are you giving Ben White?
6. Wasn't his greatest game for me.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I agree with that. Saliba, for me, I'm going to give him a 7. I feel there was, maybe he could have done better with the second goal. However, there was a couple of last-ditch blocks or someone clearing or getting in front. And every time I looked up, it was Saliba. He scored the goal as well. And I think what today showed, and I think this was an important game for him. We've seen him all season play next to Gabriel, and Gabriel's got a couple of years' experience playing in the Premier, a bit older. So you would almost say Gabriel is the leader. Not the leader, but do you know what I mean? Saliba's the youngster in that situation. Yeah. In the UEFA, when he has played, he's played next to Holding. And again, Holding, you expect to kind of lead and allow Saliba to do what Saliba does. This was the first game I said, actually, Saliba's got to lead Kyrgios because Kyrgios is his first game for Arsenal. So, it was interesting to see how he stepped up and he took some responsibility. I said them last kind of being the one to step out and clear things on the edge of the box or when things are coming across the box, he's getting in there. That's what I normally see from Gabriel. So for that, I give him a 7. I think he stepped up in terms of being the leader. And it is a different role when you're the leader in the back, out of the back too, compared to just playing your natural game. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit more added pressure. So yeah, I'll give him a 7. Let's move into his partner, Kyrgios, and it goes to you, GTalks.
I'm going to give him a 6. I thought for a debut, I thought he did okay. I thought he looked a little bit shaky in possession, and I didn't see the composure and obviously the famous left foot much this evening that I wanted to. At the same time, I thought he was okay. I thought he did all right, and I don't necessarily blame him for the goal. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a 6. I don't think he quite deserved the 7, but I think 5 would be harsh.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Zinchenko falls to Bobby.
I'm going to give him a 6. I can't think of any reason to give him a 7. There's nothing I can remember in that game that I go, oh, he's a 7. It was a decent game from him. That's Zinchenko for me. Sometimes he's decent, sometimes he's brilliant. But yeah, 6.
Yeah, I'll go Jorginho. 6, and it's a generous 6. I think he easily could have got a 5 in there. I don't think our midfield really did anything. Less said about it. I think the game was quite open, which doesn't suit him. Like, you saw the pace of it sometimes, kind of he gets overrun. Still think it's a good signing for us. However, you saw the difference when Partey come on. He could just win back position. It's just that physicality. He could just get across and get around a bit more easier, doesn't he? Which we all know. I'm not saying anything that we all don't already know. Jorginho is not in the game on the pitch to do that. However, it was one again. I think their formation maybe just didn't play into our hands the same. Do you know what I mean? I expect to see a little bit more from him. So I give him a 6, but I wouldn't argue if someone else said 5. Which way we go around today? GTalks, you've then got Xhaka.
I don't think it was one of Xhaka's best games, if I'm completely honest. I thought he was a little bit sloppy in possession a few times. Didn't do much offensively other than obviously the deflected pass that went into the back of the net. Besides that contribution, I'd probably give him a 5, but I think I'll give him a 6. I just think he falls into the same category as a lot of the other players tonight in that they were just playing within their comfort zone. They didn't do anything special, but they didn't do anything disastrous. They kind of just had a bit of a game. So I'm giving him a 6.
I hear that. Let's go to Fabio Vieira. And Bobby, is yours.
8. Easy. 8.
Yeah.
For me, man of the match. I thought it was brilliant. And I'm not going to mark him down for being in a 9 when he's not a 9. So he's getting an 8. He was brilliant. His distribution was brilliant. His shot, fantastic. I loved it. I was hoping it was a goal, but there we go. But yeah, loved it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with. I think 8 is the correct decision on that one. It means I get Bukayo Saka, and I thought on Sunday I've landed him twice, and I don't like this, but I thought on Sunday I gave him my lowest ever rating for Saka, and actually I'm going to have to beat it. I'm going to give him a 5. I saw nothing from him today. He had one shot in like the 90th minute, and again I know it's not all about shooting, and you know me already. I'm about football purist. You don't have to score a goal; you could get man of the match for me as a winger or whatever. But yeah, he just. Again, I was called it a week ago. Maybe I said I would have rested Saka, I think, last weekend. Does he need the rest? I'm not too sure. But, yeah, to me, he just... Yeah, it was worse than what I saw on the weekend. So on the weekend, he was still beating people. It was just the end product. He was... he slipped over a few times. The crosses were hitting the first man. But he was still beating people and looked a threat. Today, he didn't really do... I didn't really see him. For me, it was the worst game I've seen him play. So he'll get a 5 from me. Which breaks my heart to say. Saka, I still love you. But I have to be honest. We played on the other side. Reece Nelson. It's for you, GTalks.
Obviously an amazing performance at the weekend. Bit of an anticlimax tonight. I thought out of the 3 forward players, other than Martinelli's run, I think he probably performed the best out of the 3.
I agree.
So it's hard to rate him because I think I wasn't very impressed with any of them, but I think he was the best. So it might be harsh, but I'm going to say a 6. I think had obviously a couple of times he got into good positions, the final ball been a bit better, then I think he easily could have pushed to a 7. But on tonight's performance overall, I'd say a 6.
No, I'm with you on that. Who else we got? We then got Bobby.
Martinelli.
You've got Martinelli.
Well, Nelson's got a 6, Saka got a 5, so I can't give Martinelli any more than 6. So he's going to have to get a 6. He didn't do it. He did enough, but not enough to get a 7. So
I think the thing with Martinelli, and again, it's you can see his brilliance sometimes. That run he went on is unbelievable. Like, he has no right to do all he's done there. And even though he missed, people might say he should score that. I wasn't even bothered. My one thing with Martinelli, and it's the same thing, again, people have been very critical of Nketiah when he gets a chance and doesn't score.
Yeah.
The chance Martinelli I would look at isn't an amazing run. It was the one where Zinchenko slipped him in with the reverse pass. And if he had got his head up earlier, a square ball to Vieira's got an open goal. And he lets the ball run right. It's a good attempt on the finish. Like, it was a nice little acute technique. It's too. Oh no, it's at the post. So I thought United had gone down. They've got lucky there. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's just that awareness. And I know he's not a striker, but he plays in them areas. He come off the left to get that chance. A square ball, and Vieira's got an absolute tap in. And again, people are very critical of Nketiah when he misses an opportunity or doesn't do the right thing. And I'm not saying kill Martinelli for it. But at the same time, let's ease off Nketiah, because what Martinelli has shown in these last few games, being a striker is not the easiest position to play in. Do you know what I mean? And it's not about me trying to call out Martinelli at all for his performance. I said I think he's performed better than I expected as a striker. What it does say to me is relax on Nketiah a little bit, people. Like, it's a lonely place to play sometimes, especially in Arsenal system as well. It's not the easiest position to play in. You're expected to score goals, but also get involved. Like I said, it's probably the coaches saying get involved in the game. The fans are saying you got to score goals, and we don't know what we want. Do you know what I mean? Arteta might have it set up for our wingers to score all the goals, and if you can get yourself 5 or 10 as a striker, I'm happy with that. Same as Liverpool when they had Firmino. Firmino wasn't there to score all the goals. Mo Salah and Mane were there to score that, and he is an extra player, almost a creative player, wasn't he? So it's like we need to relax on our strikers. These are young boys playing against the biggest and strongest players on the pitch a lot of the time. It's not the easiest to find space in there. They played 5 at the back. Like, it's not an easy position to play. And again, you probably get less touches on the ball. So, do you know what I mean? It's a horrible position to play in, because unless you're scoring, people automatically think you have a bad game. And do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, as I said, hopefully, again, I'm hoping his confidence doesn't dip too much if he's not scoring when he's playing as the striker. But yeah, good. I think he's done all right, to be fair to him. Right, let's move on to some subs. I can't remember the order they came on in, so we're going to go from like back to front, if that makes sense. So I saw Tomiyasu. This is me. I'm fitting Tomiyasu. This is probably the best game I've seen Tomiyasu in a little while, and I'm happy for it, because I don't like all the criticism he's getting either. Like, I think, Ben White's had a good season, but I think people are quick to forget the games Ben White struggled in and Tomiyasu come on and absolutely sure thing. I remember the Man United game, Ben White was getting absolutely ripped to pieces, and then Tomiyasu come on and dealt with the matter on that side. So it was a good performance from him today. I'll give him a 6, just because we didn't. You know what I mean? Defensively, he was solid, but yeah, I'll give him a 6. Who else came on? Partey came on, and it goes to you, GTalks.
Yeah, I mean, Partey came on. He didn't really, for me, have the impact I wanted him to. I think when I saw a couple of the substitutions, I thought, yeah, we could probably nick one. But again, he didn't play badly. So I don't know, people might say I'm harsh, but I can't give him any more than a 6, to be honest.
Fair enough. I'm not angry. I did miss one at the back. Gabriel came on. Bobby, can you take him for me, please?
6. I can't mark him down for that. I can't mark him up. So he did what he needed to do. Just be safe. And he did it.
I'll get Smith Rowe. I'll give him a 6 as well. He's trying. You can see what he's attempting to do. It's just not coming off yet. But again, that's time. I think he still needs minutes. He's coming back from a big injury. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. That was all the subs today. So let's get into the gaffer, Arteta. What are you giving him, G?
I think personally, I think he picked a team similar to a team that I wanted. So I can give him, for me, that's gonna be a high score. I wanted to see rotation, and I got it. I mean, During the game, he did his old, passion on the touchline, spoke to the boys regularly anytime he could. And I think he made changes to potentially try and nick it. I just didn't think we had the squad tonight to do it and the performance to do it. So I'm going to give him a 7. I think he performed. I think he did the basics right. I think the players, if anything, let him down on the pitch. I just don't think the performance levels were there. But I think he ticked all the boxes in terms of what team he picked. A strong enough team to win the game, and for me, he made changes at the right point in the match to influence it in a positive way. But the performance from the players just wasn't there. So I can't really see what he did wrong, which is why I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah, fair enough. Bobby, Arteta?
Yeah, agree. 7.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said there. Again, if we get back on that plane, get back to England with no injuries, with a 2-2 draw, what more can you ask for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I think 7 would be fair for him. Cool. That wraps us up for today. So, guys, it's not all doom and gloom. It's a 2-2 draw, but we rotated a lot. Got some rest in some players' legs. And we go again this weekend. I don't think anything is really going to be too damaging on the players' mental state. And I feel they'll probably be confident and get the job done in the return fixture. So, yeah, let's see what happens then. And for us this evening, we are out of here. Make sure you hit the likes, the comments, the subscribes. Make sure we're doing all of that. And we'll see you on the weekend. Sunday, we got to watch along, Bobby.
Yeah, and I'm back with G tomorrow, and I do.
Okay, so it's that preview show.
Preview tomorrow.
Evening, Dave, what time is the preview show? Please let us know.
7:30.
So
7:30.
7:30 tomorrow evening for the preview show.
Yeah.
And then we got the watch along on Sunday. What time is the game? Is it 12? Is it the early game?
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock kickoff. That's perfect timing. Yeah. And then there'll be a reaction show after. It'll probably be me and whoever else wants to join me.
It'll be me. It'll be me. I'll be joining you.
I love it.
Wicked.
Bobby's he's not playing around out here. I'll give you that. But first at the Armoury, we're out of here. Good evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.